Good morning and welcome to Remericast. I'm Kevin Quinlan and very happy to be joined today by the man that has made this all possible for us to be sitting here in our offices here at Remerica Hometown in downtown Plymouth. I'd like to welcome Jim Courtney. Jim, thanks so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Just so we can give people an idea, how did you get yourself into real estate and starting what is now, Remerica?
Well, I started in real estate in 1967. My dad suggested I try real estate because I had been selling cars for 3 weeks and I didn't like the people that I was dealing with. And so I left there, and my dad said, well, you always like selling. Why don't you try real estate? And I said, what's real estate? I was 22 and I never had noticed a for sale sign ever. And my dad said, well, when I was building houses, people would have a home to sell and they would use a realtor to sell it. So I picked up the Northwest Record and I called an ad, and it was a Thursday, which the paper came out on Thursdays, and it was on the east side.
Okay.
So I passed, called the next ad, and I got a hold of a gentleman named Dick Cutright at Hartford Realty. And we hit it off on the phone, and I went in and interviewed, and he hired me. And I still remember I got up to leave, and he said, Jim, by the way, what kind of car do you have? And I said, I don't have a car. And he said, train that kid. To Bruce Russell. So they trained me, and Dick co-signed for my first car, and I stayed with him. And then I found Century 21 growing in 74, and we bought the rights to Michigan. My partners didn't want to look at it at first, but then they decided to.
Oh.
We were now 12 offices of Hartford Realty. We were a franchise. And so we went and looked at Century 21 and we bought the rights. And in 80, we sold it back to the parent company. And I opened an office, and after I sold the franchises, I came back to Plymouth and I started with a partner in Chuck James in the Century 21 Hartford West. And so we built that up, and then I decided to go on my own, and so I sold out to Chuck, and I opened my own gold house, Century 21 Gold House, at Ann Arbor Road and Sheldon. And then I built that up to 3 offices, and then I sold it to Coldwell Banker.
Wow, pretty busy guy.
Yeah, so I decided to open my own place, and I decided to come up with a name that I would remember and people would remember. And I went to the Big Boy restaurant every morning and would sit there and write my list of things I needed to do for the day. And so I decided I'm going to come up with a name. So I put all the names of real estate and all kinds of things together, and I put it away, and I pulled it out a month later, and Remerica just jumped out at me, and it stood for Real Estate in America. And everybody has asked me, why didn't you put the A in there? And I said, well, then it would have read Remerica. And I thought that was terrible. So I made it Remerica. And
Good choice.
Yeah. And so then I built it up, and I sold it I sold Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio to Real Estate One. So I think I'm the only man in America who sold a company to Century 21, Coldwell Banker, and REO. But I don't know that to be true. I think it's true.
Sounds pretty good to me.
I figure a lot of people might have sold 2 of them, but I've sold 3 of them.
Yeah, wow.
So and that's where I am now. I put my sons came into the business with me at Remerica.
Right.
And they've both been in the business now. We started Remerica. I had a lot of younger people because I started out with one office. And in fact, it was funny that around town, they were known as Courtney's Brat Pack because I had so many young guys working for me. And now a bunch of them have their own offices. John McCardle, Robert Cuff started with me, and he has an office on 7 Mile.
Okay.
In Northville. And so we've just grown the thing. And then I opened Remerica Hometown with my sons, and they own the majority of it, of course.
Okay, right,
and,
right.
That's it. And then I decided this past year to write a book because I wish I had a book about my father or my grandfather, and I don't. So I wrote it for my children, actually. And originally I was going to call it The Expert the Experts Buy From, and just go after the real estate audience.
Right.
But when we submitted it to the publisher, they liked it so much, they thought I was being too limiting by just doing it to real estate, and they wanted to put it out to everybody. And so they came up with the name Smart Luck.
Smart Luck. There it is.
Yeah, and, they came up with that name, and it came out a few months ago, and it's doing pretty well, and so I'm quite happy with it.
It's an entrepreneur's guide to success and happiness.
Yeah,
A-
yeah,
and I know you talk about in here that I guess every business is a people business.
correct. I believe
Mm.
that every business is a people business, and you've gotta treat people honestly, you've gotta like people, and they have to like you, and then you'll do business with them. I have another philosophy that's in the book that I think everybody should have a partner. We need partners in everything we do because if you do everything alone, you think you're right all the time, and you're not. So I think it's better to have partners, and I've had some bad ones and some good ones, and I've had some great partners, so I'm very blessed.
That is so true. I think I notice it in something as simple as let's say writing a letter. Okay, I put a letter together for real estate here a couple weeks ago to send out to some of our neighbors where we live now, and I went over and over it and thought I had it nailed down pretty well. And then I let my wife Toby read it to help edit it, and wouldn't you know, she found quite a bit that I needed to change,
Yes.
some little edits. And, whereas had I not had her read that, I would have just gone ahead and put it out and been like, "Oh, I have it right." But I didn't. I know that's like a smaller example, but it is true that it's good to have somebody to bounce things off of.
Yeah, it's exactly correct. Yeah, you need to have somebody say to you, "Hey, did you think about this?" And sometimes we don't. So it's nice to have partners. So I have partners in everything I do, and all my businesses and partners in them, and that's just the way it is.
So when you're out, because I know nowadays you spend a lot of your time recruiting, looking for agents that can come work here for Remerica hometown. And what is it that you look for then in people, Jim, that you think might make them successful in something like real estate?
I look at their personalities first. And in fact, my best agent and number one agent when I was Century 21 Gold House was a woman I hired out of the Big Boy. She was a waitress there. Her name is Eileen Aegis, and she's retired now, but she became my number one agent.
How about that?
So you just never know until you bring somebody in based on their personality. And if you think that they get along with people and they will like people and they will be honest with them, that's the key.
Yeah, and I find nowadays, so I'm relatively new into real estate, so I guess I'm about 8 months in now.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. And I'm glad I'm here. It has been something I've thought about for maybe the last, let's say, 10 years of my life. And I've had a few people mention to me, hey, you'd be good at, you should try this. And it was something that I was always like, it kind of kept in the back of my head. And the way it worked out is pretty funny, I guess. And you know some of the story, but is that literally my wife and I were looking for a new home in this area. We had been renting down in Canton for the first couple years we moved out here from Pennsylvania. And I literally one day was walking here downtown and stopped into this office. And I said, hey, I'm just looking for a place. Can somebody help me out? And I think at that point, Bonnie was here. She said, hey, great. I'll have Chris get back to you. So your oldest son, Chris, called me back, and Chris started showing Toby and I properties. And in that process of Chris showing us places, we just got to chit chatting, and he asked what I did for a living. At that time, I was just doing some part time work and looking for something. And he said, have you ever thought about real estate? And I said, well, actually, I have. So he's like, well, if you take the class and you pass the test, you can maybe work for us. So that's how that happened. Just something
That's
as
great.
interesting as, just, and it goes to the people you meet and how you get along with them, or maybe, and I think you're absolutely right. It's such a people business. And I maybe getting into it a little later in life, like I did, is actually been helpful in a way, because I've been through several different careers. Sales was one career. I was actually an athletic director at a school in Pennsylvania for a while. So I've got to deal with people all the way through.
A lot of people dealing with them. You just do, and that's the key to being successful in real estate. In fact, yesterday I was recruiting a guy who is 66 years old and he's just retired. And I said, well, have you thought about real estate? And he said, no, I haven't thought about that. I said, it's a wonderful business. You work when you want to. you're your own boss.
Right.
It's a lot of pluses.
Yeah.
And so he's thinking about it now, and I probably will get him.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's and what I noticed too, it's the common decency part of being a real estate agent that really stands out. Like if you just treat people with respect
Yes.
and like you said, honesty, you be upfront with them.
Yes.
That most people like that or they respond to that. Even if you mess up and make a mistake, if you just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I missed that," or whatever, they'll be okay. Because I think a lot of times today people just lack that common courtesy.
Yeah. You have to be honest with people, and ethical is the keys to the business. And again, it's all about people. So if you like people and they like you, you're in.
So, how do you think real estate has changed over the years since back when you got started to today? What are some of the biggest changes you've seen? I know it still all comes down to people, but has it things changed a lot since the beginning?
Changed a lot. I think what's happened is that prices go up. And so we are in for an automatic raise because of that. And we don't have anything to do with it. A property is worth what someone else is willing to pay for it. And so that's what happens. What's interesting to me is now that people are complaining about the rates, because there was some rates at 2 and 3% recently. And so now they're not. They're up around 6%. Funny thing is that's the rates when I broke in the business in 1967. They're the same rates.
You got spoiled by that little
Yes, we
period
did.
of time.
Yeah, we did, and that's caused people to stay where they are because they have a lower rate on their
Right.
mortgage, and they don't want to
They don't want to
get rid of it.
get
Yeah.
rid of that.
So it's interesting.
It is. It is. It's a really interesting market right now, but that's part of real estate too. I mean, the ebbs and flows over the years, where there's this. It's very cyclical, right? It
It
changes.
certainly does. I mean, it is cyclical, and you'll have your ups and downs. And I think, as always in the beginning of the year, in mid-January to late January is when it starts to pick up, and then it goes like crazy. And then to summer, it slows down because people are on vacation, taking time
Right.
off,
Right.
and doing other things with their family. And then it picks back up in September, and it goes through the December. So
Yeah. Now's the time that and I know a lot of people and people that are out there listening, usually you start thinking, okay, if I'm going to put my house on the market or if I'm going to start looking, I'll wait for the nicer weather to come in the spring because that makes sense. We get that. But at the same time, as Chris talked about in one of our meetings a couple weeks back, that this is actually, if you do think you want to put your house on the market, it might be a good idea to do it sooner than later because if you get out there before the rush hits, probably better for you to sell your house.
absolutely, absolutely. Put it on the market when you determine that you need to put it on the market.
Right.
And the sooner the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are obviously here to help you with all of that.
Exactly correct.
And I think that's one of the nice things about our office here, Jim, is that people are very friendly. First of all, it's kind of tight knit. If you come walking in here, we'll sit down with you, take the time, answer your questions. And as I pointed out, I did a little video about our window vision here in the front window. You don't even have to come in if you don't want to. Like there's no
Correct.
pressure.
That's right. None whatsoever. You talked about the changes in the business. I'll tell you one thing that's changed that I've noticed. When I was in the business, working all the time selling years ago, I would walk in the office in the morning and there'd be 20 agents in there,
Right.
25 agents,
Right.
all doing their thing. And the camaraderie is wonderful. And you'd listen to other people doing things, and
Right.
it just seemed to make it better. Now, with the advent of social media and telephones and computers, people don't come in as much anymore
Right.
because they don't need to. It's like you said, when you came in that day, Bonnie was here alone because the people are out working.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's real interesting. Part of it I miss.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that, even though they like the convenience of being able to do a lot of your stuff from home now because you have your Zoom and your laptop and you can get a lot of stuff done, which you can. But there is the human element of things. I think
Yes.
in general is missing to a point, and
Yeah.
I don't know that it's good for us humans. Like we're meant to be around other people.
Exactly correct. I remember very well when I got into sales, I had driven a Mack truck for about 4 months, quad axle, big 2 transmissions, and I drove it. I got the job, and I was only 22 years old. It was just before I started in real estate, actually.
Okay.
And I hated the fact that I was alone all day long
Right.
in a truck by myself.
Right.
And I love people. I just had to get back into the business, so I got, into car business and then real estate.
Funny about I actually sold cars for about the same amount of time you did. My very first job out of college was selling cars at a Toyota dealership at home, and I did it for about 6 months, I think it was, and it was really interesting. I mean, it was great experience, but it was tough, and
I didn't like the business as much as I have loved real estate. I just love the fact that I can help people and make their dreams come true, and it's certainly been a blessing.
it has to be pretty satisfying and neat for you to have 3 of your children involved in the
Yes.
business
Yes,
now.
it is. Both my sons and my one daughter are here in the business. My other daughter is a CRNA. She's a certified registered nurse anesthetist at U of M. She got into that and she loves it. So I'm happy for her.
That's great, and I
Yeah.
know working here with Chris and Tim, and I've met Melissa a couple times as well. It's just great. They're nice, such nice people.
Thank you.
And when I tell people that where I work and that I work for the Courtneys, pretty much everybody knows who you guys are.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
That's nice to know.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Outside of real estate, any hobbies that you I know one thing that you enjoy doing, but any other things that you like to spend your when you have free time these days doing, Jim?
Actually, I play poker, as you know, and that is what the thing that I like to do. I was 14th in the world in the main event at the World Series of Poker back in '94.
Wow.
And I have cashed, I think, 8 or 9 times in the World Series and a couple other times in other events. I have never won an event, but my best finish is a third. So I need a second and a first, but I probably won't get them because I'm not going out to Vegas anymore just
Oh.
because of my age.
Okay. Is that where most of those events would
Well,
take?
the World Series of
the world-
Poker is
It's all
in Vegas, yeah.
obviously.
I tell everybody now that I think life is like a football game. I think it's 4 quarters, 20 years each. And when you make 80 like me, you're in sudden death overtime. And it's getting big laughs. I wrote that 6 months ago. It's getting big laughs
That's good.
because it's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm quite happy to be I'm 81 this past year. I was 81.
Yeah. And how often do you still play poker? Every day or just
No,
just
I play 3-4 times a week.
okay.
Just
Okay.
a couple 3 hours at a time.
Okay.
Just to keep active.
Yeah.
And to keep my mind going and keep doing it.
I know cards are it is great for brain.
Yes, it is.
It's one of those type of hobbies it's funny, I never played cards much growing up. Just wasn't interested. But lately, my wife and I and either our son Patrick and one of his former teammates lives with us right now, and so every once in a while after dinner we'll just play some cards.
Yeah, well, the reason I played is I broke my leg just before we moved here from Canada in '54. I broke my leg, and so I had a plate and 3 screws put in my right femur, and I couldn't. When we moved here, I was on crutches and then a cane, and my friends taught me how to play poker at 10 years old. I played in the neighborhood, and so I've been playing ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't do sports because of my leg, but so I did poker. I call it a mental sport.
Yeah, and those are the best kind now is when you're younger, it was great to run around and play all the things. And I guess that's another thing you get to enjoy now is, watching some of your grandchildren play their sports and do their
Yes.
different things. That must be
Yes.
also pretty just fun and satisfying
Yeah,
for you.
it is very much so, and I have 14 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and 4 children, of course, as we talked.
Yeah.
But so it's been an enjoyment to watch them. And I am glad that I learned poker because I have something that you can continue to play it. Like real estate, you can continue to do it forever, and poker is the same thing. If I were a high jumper or a baseball player, I couldn't do those things now.
Right.
So I'm blessed that I found poker.
Yeah, those kind of things are great for longevity and just being able to do it.
And I like to read, and I wrote this book, and I made it only 158 pages, so it's a short read so that you'll pick it up and you won't put it down until you're done.
That is a great idea and great for people like me.
I didn't want a thick book.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and get a copy.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, and you can pick it up, and it's on Spotify, I guess, the audio version. So
great.
So that's good.
I know one other quick little hobby that I've seen is getting up and singing a little bit with Tim's band.
I have tried everything. I got my SAG card back in 77, and I was doing commercials and industrial films. And in fact, I got hired by a broker out in Beverly Hills, California, by the biggest broker in town.
Wow.
Mike Silverman. And he had an article in the paper about flying people around in helicopters to look at properties in Beverly Hills. And I was interested in real estate out there, and I had my SAG card, and I thought, well, I'm going to go to California and I'm going to sell real estate and act. And unfortunately, my first wife, family talked her out of going, and we ended up separating. And I stayed here because of my sons. So I had gone to California and gotten my real estate license and everything out there. I'd done a lot.
Wow.
But I decided not to go, and I'm glad I didn't. Everything works out for the best.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased I stayed here. So.
Right. I think I caught the Tug, as Tim's band is called, and they played over at the Post here in Plymouth. And man, you belted out a great balls of fire. I was impressed.
Thanks. I sing that song with them all the time, and I only sing that song because it kind of rocks the place. And I just hate to do a bunch of other things, and I just sing one song with them, but just to keep my feet in it, and I love doing it. I like the name of the band too, the Tug. It stands for Two Ugly Guys, and then when I sing with them, it's Three Ugly Guys. So it's still the Tug.
I don't think so. I think you guys are a little hard on yourself, but it is a great name.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun to do.
It's fun to do, and Plymouth is fun, and I've talked about this before. What a great town this is, and I love being a part of it. And
they just wrote an article, and it was in the paper a couple of weeks ago in the news on page 3, a half-page article on Plymouth being a town that everybody loves, and it's like out of the movies.
Yeah.
And it was just a great article.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember you showed that to us, actually.
Yeah, I brought it in because it was so good.
Yeah, really, it is kind of a throwback town in a way, I guess.
It's a wonderful place to raise your family. I've been here since 1971. I've been here 55 years now.
Wow.
I love this town. It's been great to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Anything else you want to mention before we go, Jim? Or
I'm just glad you're here, Kevin, and I want you to keep being successful, so you will be.
I feel good about it. It takes its time to build those relationships, but I enjoy that. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to build those things, but they will happen.
They will happen, actually.
Yeah. So everybody. Again, come on down. We're here at 930 West Ann Arbor Trail. And if you're interested you think real estate might be something for you, you've, like myself, always kind of thought about it, well, stop on in and talk to us.
Yes, please do.
Please do, because it could be a great place for you to have your next career or your first career or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it.
You bet, Jim. Thanks a lot, and we will see you next time on Remerica.
Thank you.